George R.R. Martin won't be able to use Varys' ending from Game of Thrones in the Winds of Winter, which would ultimately be beneficial to the story. With 6 years to reflect on the Game of Thrones ending, it's still understated how disappointing the deaths of characters like Varys and Littlefinger were. These were the schemers in the show, and they even had heightened roles compared to the novels, with the books never showing any of their conversations alone together. The schemers were the X factors in Game of Thrones, but their plotting got lost in the final web of events. One of the many things that went wrong with Game of Thrones was the lack of nuance in the final seasons. While George R.R. Martin's books expanded the narrative with a feast for crows and a dance with dragons, the final seasons of the show began to narrow down the number of players contending for power. This led characters like Varys, who had been built up as if they had been plotting potential outcomes for years, to be killed off abruptly after finding themselves in situations that were unworthy of their intelligence. The show began to lean toward Varys as a protagonist, with him being the schemer fighting on behalf of the realm. He sought to restore the Targaryen dynasty due to the virtue and kindness of Daenerys Targaryen, hoping to remain alongside her as an advisor, with him and Tyrion steering her in the right direction. However, when Daenerys turned toward madness, Varys quickly turned and betrayed her, resulting in his execution in the Bells. The disappointment here is that we're discussing Varys, the man who ran a spy network and successfully maintained power through information and secrecy for decades before joining Daenerys. He's far too smart to be as careless as his final scenes made him seem, and the moment is incredibly anticlimactic. It happens at the start of what's possibly the most controversial episode of the series, and by the time Daenerys had burnt King's Landing to a crisp, Varys doesn't even matter anymore. It's as if Game of Thrones tried to bury one of its best characters.